What's going on, everyone? And thank you for tuning in. It's a big one. U.S. men's national team back playing competitive football again, this time Nations League Semifinal versus Panama. Two teams that are very, 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 very familiar with each other. I gotta say, man, I'm absolutely fired up with this one. Kickoff is in just shy of 10 minutes ish. So we're going to go through the lineups and we're going to talk a little bit about it. But before we do, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. And of course, if you want to chit chat during the live stream, go ahead and drop into the chat rooms. It's going to be an absolute banger. The U.S. men's national team is prepared to hoist another trophy. Well, almost. We still actually have to play Panama first, and then, of course, there's the final as well, too. But you get what I'm saying. It's the best team in the CONCACAF region, and I think it's by a long distance, although I do like Canada, but that's a different story. We'll get into that as well, too. So, all right, the U.S. men's national team is set to play Panama, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about first was the obvious news. Anthony Robinson stays back. Along with Johnny Cardoso and Austin Trusty, and of course the U.S. Soccer Federation says they drew with because of injury. Although I would question "quote unquote" injury, considering all these guys played on Sunday, and I think it was probably more or less the last thing you really want to do is bring in a dude who's fresh off a 90, have them travel 16 hours to the United States. Miss a complete day's worth of training on Tuesday, because that's the reality of it, right? And then get on the pitch and try to muster something on Wednesday before obviously taking the pitch tonight. So I think it was probably in the best interest. Now, this is where the interesting thing comes in, because I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that think that the U.S. Soccer Federation is trying to overhaul the roster of their MLS quota. Defender Max Arston comes into the team. Brian Gutierrez comes into the team, and forward Jack McGlynn is added to it as well, too. Now, I'm actually fine with Jack McGlynn. I don't have a problem with it. We saw Jack at the last summer in the Olympics. We also saw him in the January camp as well, too. I think Jack is fine. In the context of the Nations League, I have no problem with Jack McGlynn on the roster. Where I have a problem is Max Arston. I don't necessarily think that he's cut out necessarily for the first team. And there was just better options than Brian Gutierrez. And mainly for me is the fact where you actually have guys like Alex and Dejas. Either Aronson brother would have worked in this one. It just seems that it might have been a little short-sighted. It really did. I didn't, and the crazy thing is when you actually have a guy like Johnny Cardoso who bows out and you don't replace it with a guy like Aiden Morris, it is a little head scratching. But that being said, I think a lot of this has to do with Poch trying to win his first trophy. I think there's a lot of short-sightedness in this. And I think he's sacrificing a little long-term for the short-term. Which makes a little sense considering Tim Ream is still on this roster. But that being said, the one thing that, I think a lot of people expected Max Arston to be in the lineup tonight. He's not. But that being said, when you look at it and you look at how this squad is set up for tonight, I don't know, man. I don't know how you guys feel. I think this is going to be a side that's going to be good enough to win this one. I don't necessarily believe there's a U.S. Soccer Federation. By the way, I don't believe there's a U.S. Soccer Federation conspiracy trying to overload MLS players onto the national team. I personally believe that this is a simple case of Poch just picking guys that he knows, guys that have worked with him. And when it comes to MLS-based players, he had a good look at all three of these dudes in January, and I think he liked what he saw. Versus maybe a guy like Paxton Aronson, who he hasn't seen yet, but that's the rub, right? That's the rub. How are you going to bring in somebody? How are you going to gain trust in somebody unless you actually bring them in and see if see if he's going to adapt. But I think a lot of this has to go with Poch trying to win a trophy versus not necessarily having an eye towards 2026. I think when you look at these competitions coming up, it's this and the Gold Cup, and that's pretty much it. As far as big competition prior to 2026, there's no World Cup qualifying, so you're not going to have those battle-tested road matches through CONCACAF, which if you ask me, are actually vital. So let's go ahead and get into the lineup. Now, I don't necessarily know if this is necessarily what it's actually going to look like, but we're going to pull this up real quick. Josh Sargent's at the 9. I would probably be hesitant to say that Tanner Tessman's at the 10. I would probably assume that's going to be Weston McKennie. And it looks like Joe Scally's off the left side. Tim Ream and Chris Richards are your center back pairing. Yunus Musa on the right. I think the double pivot's actually going to be Tanner Tessman and Tyler Adams. The Mob actually has Timmy Way on the left and Christian Pulisic on the right. But albeit Matt Turner is going to be in goal. Interesting thing, by the way, in that I was listening to Tim Howard, U.S. men's national team, great goalkeeper Tim Howard, talking about the goalkeeping position and saying that Zach Steffen is this team's number one. And I had a little bit of pushback on that, because if Zach Steffen really was the number one, and especially in a match like this with an opportunity to go to a final, and Matt Turner still is getting starts in these big games, it's evident that Matt Turner, whether you like it or not, is probably going to be number one in 2026 as well too. And it makes a lot of sense, because think about the lineage of the goalkeeping position. And every World Cup cycle, there was always they always had that one dude on the roster that was kind of your veteran presence. Like in 2002, I believe Tony Meola was there. I think Brad Guzan might be a little too old at this point, but you get what I'm saying. There's every single cycle, they always had that one. I think Sean Johnson was in 2022. But the reality is the U.S. doesn't necessarily have that guy. So the guy who's actually the veteran probably would be Matt Turner at this point. Yeah, Zach Steffen. But at this point, the reason why Patrick Schulte isn't getting any love right now is because he's got 3-4 caps total. So, it's unrealistic to think that dude's going to get any play in 2026. It's most likely going to come down to Zach Steffen and Matt Turner. And the question is going to be, number one, who's playing? That would probably be Zach Steffen. But, who has the better high side? And for me, if Matt Turner can actually get a move this summer where he's actually the clear-cut number one, chances are pretty good come 2026, you're going to see Matt Turner in that position. And I don't necessarily hate it. Okay, let me take a step back real quick. Okay, number one, I absolutely hate it. But that being said, who else is going to be there? Who else is going to be able to step in? Who else is going to give Pochettino that security blanket in goal? And it's probably going to be Matt Turner. But yes, so Christian Pulisic and Joe Scally will be manning the left, Way and Musa on the right, Tessman and Adams in the double pivot. Weston McKennie is going to be your 10. Josh Sargent is up top. The interesting thing is, will we see Gio Reyna today? That's going to be another one, right? This is the first opportunity for Gio Reyna to come good on the supposed talent. So that's going to be an interesting one. It looks like Panama is going to be in a 3-4-3 with Harvey, Farina, and Cordoba in the back. Gutierrez, Godoy, Cascarilla, and Blackman in the middle. Martinez on the right, Rodriguez on the left, and Forjado is going to be up top as their primary 9. And let's remember that this is a Panama team that has beat the U.S. men's national team 2 out of the last 3, including on U.S. soil during the Copa America last summer. I don't know, man. It's one thing to play this team in a friendly and get a W, and that, I believe, was Pochettino's first ever match managing. So it's going to be something completely different. But at the end of the day, man, I think the U.S. men's national team has the better talent in this one, and I'm expecting them to come good tonight. But that being said, it is what it is. Also, the second semifinal tonight, Mexico versus Canada. And I've been saying this time and time again, I actually think Canada is probably the second best team in CONCACAF. Now, granted, this is going to be a tricky one because this one's in LA, right? So you know that Mexico is going to have a packed house full of their supporters. But that being said, I think Jesse Marsch has that team, pretty much firing in all cylinders. And I would not be surprised if it is a U.S. versus Canada final, which is absolutely going to be just an unbelievable one. But we are getting set here, so go ahead and hit your like and subscribe buttons. Obviously, if you want to take part in the chat, that's open tonight. Let's talk U.S. football. And we are underway. Looks like we are about ready for the first kick here at SoFi Stadium in beautiful downtown Los Angeles. By the way, I have yet to see SoFi Stadium in person, mainly because I don't watch the NFL. I have no use, but we are underway now, and U.S. will be in possession. Looks like they're wearing their road jerseys, or I hate to call it the bomb pop, but I guess that's what it is. I'm not a big fan of those. I want to see some creativity when it comes to the U.S. road kits, but be that as it may, as that ball is going to squeak past back to Mac Turner, as the U.S. is going to try to keep possession, and they're going to play it out wide left. And they're going to try to move this one forward. Not surprised to see Tanner Tessman in the lineup tonight. Pochettino loves him some Tess. I kind of had a feeling that it was definitely going to be Tyler Adams in the lineup tonight. 100%. It was, you kind of had a feeling that if, specifically for this one, you kind of had a feeling that West was probably going to be playing the 10 tonight. 100%. The question was depending on who they're going to play in the final, is that going to be Gio starting next versus Mexico or Canada? Interesting. It's going to be interesting. As they're going to try to play this up the left to Christian Pulisic. No, actually, beg your pardon, that was Wes. That's a nice little give and go. Here's Yunus Musa running up the right flank. That's going to get poked out, and I think this is going to be a U.S. throw-in. And, of course, because this is being played on an NFL stadium, the touch lines are hugging the boards in this one. It's going to be interesting, man, how this is going to shape up for the World Cup. Because that ball is going to get out, and it looks like it's going to be another U.S. throw-in potentially. Mauricio Pochettino. There's also some interesting conversation swirling Mauricio Pochettino and some of the comments he made in London recently about wanting to go back to Tottenham Hotspur. Now, of course, as a Spurs fan, obviously this is also a big Spurs channel. The thought of Pochettino going back to Tottenham is interesting, but that being said, he's got a release clause that's damn near 20 mil. And I just don't think that's going to happen a year before the World Cup, as there's a ball over the top. That's good defense by Panama, as they will keep possession. Ooh, that's poked away. He's going to play that in, Josh Sargent, and I believe that's going to get deflected, and I believe we'll have our first corner of the match. And this is also a very big tournament for Josh Sargent as well too. He has not scored for the U.S. men's national team in a very, very, very long time. And, with Balogun and Pepe out, this is his show, man. And, if he wants to put himself in, very good consideration for 2026, these are the games that he's going to have to score. And it's not just an issue of, playing well and not score. He's going to have to score, as that ball's going to get deflected. And it looks like, there's going to be a whistle right there. So that ball's going to get turned. That ball's going to go out of play, and it'll be a Panama throw-in. But getting back to Poch, I don't think Tottenham are going to pay that premium right now. I could be wrong, but considering they have never really paid top dollar to get a coach out of his current contract, I can't see Tottenham poaching Pochettino back. I just can't see it. I could be wrong. Yeah, that would be interesting. Like, first and foremost, like, would he want to go back right now, knowing that we're just a little over a year away from the World Cup? I just don't see it. As Panama is going to try to play this forward off the right. And there's a ball that's going to play it a little bit over the top, but there's Matt Turner, who quickly brings it out. And it's Tyler Adams who's going to play it all the way down the right side. Here's Yunus Musa pushing into the ball. Cross. Oh, that was a great momentum play right there as Yunus Musa was streaking up the right side, and he put a good ball in. Maybe a little underwhelming, but he hit his marker there. There's a ball over. They're going to switch. Here's Yunus Musa. Right side as the U.S. continues to play down the right side. And there is a whistle. And how's this? Is this going to be yeah, it'll be Panama ball. Good defense right there by Panama. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe buttons, of course, and the chat is open tonight. So for all you guys that want to talk ball, man, I'm here for it. But the crazy thing that I keep hearing from U.S. men's national team supporters is that Josh Sargent can't play at this level. And I just find it ridiculous. They act like they're saying, well, yeah, but he plays in the championship. Well, yeah, and the championship is not a bad league to be playing in. Is it the Premier League? No, but if you understand the economics of the championship, the 10 to 13 teams in that table, the top 13 teams have played in the Premier League in the last 3 years, which means they're sitting on balloon payments, which means they're able to keep the bulk of that Premier League roster intact and add to it. So it's not like these players, a lot of these players have played in the Premier League before. So it really is. These defenses are not soft like MLS defenses. And the fact that Josh Sargent is ripping it up in the championship speaks a lot of levels, on top of the fact that I probably would assume that he's going to be in the Premier League. If Norwich finds their way into the Premier League, he's going to be there 100%. And me personally, I think Josh Sargent's profile fits a Pochettino system. He's just, up to this point, since Pochettino's been on board, he hasn't played with the entire full first team because of injury. And so this is a big opportunity for Josh. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Josh score. As the U.S. is pressing Panama high, I think that's going to get out for a goal kick here. So far, we've seen the U.S. men's national team quite dangerous down that right flank, and I'm all here for it. It almost feels like they're not yet getting Christian into the game. I don't know if it's an early decoy, that type of thing, but they're clearly prioritizing that right side with Yunus Musa. Ooh, that was a nice little move right there. As Panama is looking to get this ball up the field. U.S.'s pressing has been nice. I'll give them credit. I did not exactly know how. Oh, that's a nice little play right there as Panama's pushing. In the box. Ooh, good defending. Tyler Adams was all over it. Was all over Martinez there. And the question is he going to get out for a corner? As Chris Richards got his back pocket pick. Martinez drives into the box, and Tyler Adams was right there. And, yeah, I believe that's going to be a corner for Panama. Not a lot of people in the stand so far for the U.S. men's national team. A little bit of a light crowd. Granted, it is 4 o'clock in LA, so that also could play into it. Yeah, like who came up with the schedule, by the way? Back-to-back semifinals, so you're not going to space them out. There's the corner. And that's going to get booted up. Can the U.S. clear this? Nope. Panama still has possession. Nice little dump off right there. And there's going to be a whistle. And it looks like it's going to be Pulisic who's going to get pointed out there. So it looks like this is going to be a Panama free kick from about 25 yards off the left side. Panama actually is without a few key players tonight. Still a very dangerous team. Here's the ball in. Good defense there by the U.S., but goes back post, but that's cleared away. As Panama's playing pretty well so far, holding their own on D, being a little front-footed right now, a little dangerous, not too dangerous, but a couple set pieces right there that they couldn't cash in. It's an interesting. This is I don't know how necessarily serious the Nations League is really for CONCACAF. It just seems like it's another CONCACAF tournament. But that being said, without World Cup qualifiers, I would imagine that these guys are taking this one a little seriously. I would imagine. In a normal cycle where you actually have World Cup qualifying, that probably takes precedence. As here's Tim Ream. And as this formation shifts, it becomes like a 3-5-2, a 3-4, yeah, a 3-4-3. I'm actually quite for it. They actually look very sound with a back three. Here's Yunus Musa. The U.S. will keep possession. There's a ball forward. Here's Wes. Plays it back. Out to Christian on the left. And that ball gets poked away, but U.S. will keep possession. Good defense. Good man marking right there on Pooley. As they're trying to find a way in, but there's a whistle. Man, it's going to be on Timmy Weah. And that will turn possession over to Panama. The ball movement's good, but too heavy of a touch as Weah was trying to go to his right. Looked like Yunus Musa was very much available on the right side. Ball picked. Then we see a whistle, so now it'll be Panama in possession. That's going to be interesting, man. What I'm really looking forward to is when the entire first team is available. So, you're talking Ricardo Pepi, Serginho Dest, Flo Balogun. When the U.S. actually has all of its weapons, and that's a nice little turnover right there. Oh, and they coughed it right back up. Here comes Panama. Numbers coming forward. As they play it out to Martinez on the left, there's a ball in. And that's just going to be a little too long. And it looks like it's going to get out for a U.S. throw-in. Man, I'm telling you. They're putting on the pace so far. It looks like Panama's starting to get into this one. And it has a feeling this thing is going to go back and forth, which, is the U.S. versus Panama match. What I would like to see, on top of the fact that the U.S. should be playing, top 20 teams in the world, I like that we're playing Switzerland and Turkey later this year. But man, where are the road matches at, man? I want to see this team. I want to see this team travel. I really do. I want to know how this team travels. As it looks like it's going to be another Panama set piece here. Here's the ball in. Ooh, nice lays it off. There's the ball in. Ooh, back corner. Matt Turner. Matt Turner. A little play it there is Chris Richards will boot this forward, but nobody was in the vicinity as Panama will regain the ball, and it quickly goes back to the keeper as they will reset. As it switched out over the left. And the early U.S. pressing, it's still there. As Panama almost lost the ball right there in the midfield. Out to the left. That's a nice little ball. Here comes Blackman. Turns, ball deflected. And U.S. will clear it as it gets out, and it will be a Panama throw-in. Nice little play there by Joe Scally. Panama's doing a really good job in possession, man. They're working nice little passes. They're kind of making the U.S. work a little bit right now. There's a ball in. Good deflection right there. As now the U.S. will race out to the right, but that ball is way too long as it gets out. And it'll be a Panama throw-in. As that pass was looking for Wes, shading out a little bit to the right touchline there. And that throw-in immediately goes out for another Panama throw-in. I really would. I would like to see the U.S. travel. That's one of the things that we just don't see. Outside of, obviously, European players coming back, I don't necessarily think that constitute as a necessarily traveling, but you get the idea. I would love to see this team play in Europe. Less of a break for European-based players, as Yunus Musa will throw this in. And the U.S. will reset as it tries to go out left, as they are pushing forward. Here's Timmy Weah. Tim Ream over Chris Richards. Here's Yunus Musa. As they are trying to find runners, but Panama's press, it's pretty good, man. Pretty good. Here's Timmy Ream. Here's Chris Richards. How about the evolution of Chris Richards? He looks miles better than the last time we saw. Here's Pulisic. Scally. Dude looked confident on the ball, man. I'm telling you. Here's Yunus Musa back to Richards. They're just kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Is they're looking for runners, but so far, here's Yunus Musa down the right side, 1v1. Nice little play in. Here's Josh Sargent as that ball gets deflected away, and it'll be out for a U.S. corner. Good play by Farina right there, 1v1 versus Josh. That was a nice little ball in, though. And one of the things that Josh has to do is group it and at least put a shot on net. It doesn't have to be sexy, but, rebounds, man. So the U.S. will have their second corner here in the first half. We're about 18 and a half minutes in. As Christian will take this corner. There's a ball in. And that'll get poked away as the U.S. goes chasing it back. Here's Weah. Yunus Musa. A lot of action for him tonight. That's a nice little ball to the outside. Here's Christian Pulisic. Nice little feather touch in. Ball in. Oh! Oh! Josh Sargent. Looks like he hit the post. Oh, here's Yunus Musa. That ball gets deflected. Oh, Josh Sargent hits the post. That looked like it was teed up. That looked like it was a sitter. Oh, good scoring up here. Here, that ball's turned away. Here's Josh Sargent looking for help, and you will find it. Here's Weah. Ball in. Oh, Weston, right at the keeper. But the U.S. have guns ablazing. Absolutely beautiful. That's a nice ball in. Hits West right where you want it, but it's right into the keeper. Oh, so twice the Americans had two beautiful scoring opportunities. Oh, I see. That was deflected. Okay. Josh didn't hit the post. He hit the defender. It looked like it hit the post. But the U.S. will retain possession. It's interesting, man. It's nice seeing the first team back. Albeit a few different names. I would have liked to see Anthony Robinson, but I'm not tripping that he stayed back. I mean, dude played a full 90 on Sunday. In Fulham's 2-0 win over Tottenham. But that being said, man, the fact that it's weird, right? Because usually you'll see four fullbacks on the roster. And in Pochettino, it's like, Pochettino maybe calls in three. He's not, his defense really isn't necessarily predicated on the wing back position. Usually it's the two. It's the two that generally start. That's a nice ball in right there. As the U.S. are trying to find a way into the box. And, I like it. I like it, but in a situation like this where, you would, the U.S. depth at the left back position isn't exactly the strongest right now. As the U.S. are trying to play it in, but there's a turnover right there as they tried to press high to get the ball back, but Panama is a little too shifty here, so Panama will be on the attack. And I guess it calls into question really the depth at the left back position for the U.S. Without Anthony Robinson, it's kind of a huge drop off. I mean, Joe Scally's obviously playing there tonight, which isn't shocking considering. Oh yeah, good deflection. Considering he does it at Mönchengladbach. Not exactly that that big of a worry, but it would have been cool to see John Tolkien, but I think the injury. I think he's kind of earned the right to come up, but injuries, man, kind of plays havoc on your depth. But so far in the last 5 minutes, the U.S. have had two very good looks on goal. Josh Sargent had what I consider a sitter, but that gets deflected. And Weston McKennie had a header that went right into the keeper. Here's Yunus Musa on the right side. There's a ball in. Ooh, far post. A little too far right there. As the U.S. continues to keep up the pace on their attack, they're showing Panama a few different looks, and it's that final pass. It's that final combination pass that's going to unlock this defense as they keep playing. They're doing a really good job though, holding possession well. Chris Richards now is going to pass this over to Timmy Ream. who's going to play this forward. Looks like the U.S. has a man on side. All the way to the left, it's Timmy Weah. Ball. Ooh. Josh Sargent. Oh. Is he offside? Oh. Oh, Josh just had his first goal in forever. And it's ruled off. Oh, yeah, because he was way off. Oh, okay, yeah. So Weah was offside to begin with. That sucks. Oh, that sucks. Whose dick does he have to suck to get a goal, man? God damn it. Oh, as the U.S., we're going to get on the board right there. But the offside god said, not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. As there is a man down. It looks like it's Martinez for Panama. So we check the, yeah, okay. Yeah, the whole play started with Timmy Weah offside. Okay. That's a nice idea, though. And what's interesting is, when the play developed, you're kind of like, oh. And it looks like Martinez is down, but he pops right back up there. So as we are about to replay. But yeah, I mean, Weah was offside by a mile, but, it's nice when you see Josh Sargent put one in. You're like, God damn it, dude. This dude cannot buy a goal at all. He already had one good look deflected, and now he had one taken away from offside. Whose dick does this dude's got to suck in order to get a goal? Good Lord, man. Good Lord. I've seen goal droughts, but then, then you see these type of things where it's like, God damn it. Like, you feel like he's going to score tonight, though. That dude's been active in the box. As that ball gets played all the way back down to Matt Turner. Who's going to go all the way wide to Joe Scally as the U.S. now kind of pushes up. Let's see if the tenacity is there for the U.S. Are they going to continue to force it down the right side? We'll find out. Yeah, they're looking good in the possession, man. There's the ball. Ooh, through. Here's Yunus Musa, just a little too far. Oh, he almost had Musa. And Musa's been just deadly down that right side. He's played that right wing back position very well so far in this first half. As we're in minute 26, as Panama is trying to play this one down the left. As it gets out, there'll be a throw-in. And that ball is going to shift all the way to the left. That's a good play. As Panama plays one in. Ooh, off the side netting. Off the side netting. And now Panama's trying to get a little something in. Trying to do a little something. That was a nice little switch right there. As Yunus Musa had to track a little bit. But yeah, that was a blast off the side netting there for Gutierrez. And the U.S. will play it out of the back. Here's Joe Scally. As that apparently they played it out of the back a little too quick. Okay. As they restart. As they will switch. Here's Chris Richards, who already got his pocket picked once. And now that ball's going to get played back. Good press by Panama right now. But the U.S. will play its way out of it. Here's Joe Scally. Joe Scally. Nice little 1-2 right there. And the play was designed to go forward, but good man marking right there. So we're in the 28th minute. It's 0-0 as the U.S. are looking for their first goal. There's a ball way down the right side and a little too far in as they were looking for Yunus Musa. It will be a U.S. throw-in as that one goes all the way back to Chris Richards. It's nice being the first team. It really is. Due to attrition and injuries over the course of the last 6 months, we really haven't seen the full first team. It's nice. And me personally, I just believe that when it comes to these tournaments, when it comes to Gold Cup, when it comes to major friendlies, this team has to play as much as they possibly can. And so, again, man, I'm going to be happy when we see Serginho Dest back. That was not a good ball right there from Yunus Musa. But luckily it gets out, and I think it's going to be a U.S. throw. No, Panama. But yeah, that's the thing, man. Between now and in 2026 and some of the warm-ups, this team has to play, the core group of guys that we expect to be at the 2026 World Cup. These guys got to play as much as possible. And yeah, there's going to be a few different outliers. I do believe that, that some of the guys that we've seen in this last January camp, one of those guys will probably be on the World Cup roster. Now, is that Diego Luna? Possibly. I knew he was going to be on this roster as soon as he demanded to go back into the game on a broken nose, and he had the 2 cotton swabs up his nose. I just knew he was going to be on this roster. It was a foregone conclusion, man. Argentinians love that type of shit, man. They love that toughness. And, Diego Luna has that in spades. And so as soon as that happened against Venezuela, I was like, dude, he's going to be on this roster 100%. Here's Timmy Way up the left side. Joe Scally pushing as they look for an entry. That ball's deflected, and Panama clears it, but it looks like. But yeah, I mean, like the worst thing about being a host nation is the fact that you don't have qualifying. So you don't have road games in the world. You don't have road games in qualifying, which, is huge. Say what you will. I understand, man. CONCACAF isn't UEFA. It's not even really Pan Asian or Common Ball. But, going to Honduras, going to Costa Rica, going to Panama, those environments are rough, man. And you hear some of the former players, some of the greats that were saying, like, listen, man, we played in Europe, but I can, they'll personally tell you going to Honduras or going to Costa Rica or Panama in World Cup qualifying, going to Mexico is some of the toughest environments. And it actually does help you. It does help you shape you and get you ready for a World Cup, man. The fact that they're not going to have this, and, I would probably assume we're not going to see a lot of road games between now and then. You would like to see it, man. You would like to see if this team can travel and come out with a result. But the U.S. will have a free kick here, and it looks like it's going to be from about 25 yards out, a little center. And it looks like it's going to be Christian Pulisic and Tyler Adams standing over it. It's probably going to be Christian. Yeah, it's more like 3. I would assume it's going to be Christian taking this. Yeah, it is. As he tried to play that a little near post, but that thing was as terrible as it gets out. But we are currently in minute 32 as the U.S. certainly have had their chances, man. No doubt about it. Josh has had a couple opportunities, one goal pulled back for offside. Wes had an opportunity. The U.S. is able to get down the flanks. That is not an issue. They have certainly played the part so far, and when they get forward, yeah, it really is like a 3-5-3 moving forward, or a 3-4-1-2 coming forward. So it looks pretty good, man. A 3-4-2-1. You get the picture. They kind of start out in that double pivot, but as this team presses, the U.S. gets numbers forward. They are certainly doing their certainly doing their parts on the wings. It's actually been quite impressive to see the U.S. get down both flanks. Most certainly down the right side, Yunus Musa has been an absolute terror for Panama down the right side. He's got a nice couple balls in. And speaking of Yunus Musa, here he is right here. That's a nice little ball in, but it gets deflected, so it'll be a U.S. throw-in. Here's Yunus, quick throw in. And yeah, that was Tanner Tessman. Tessman a little gets caught a little too high up the field right there. Good defense by Panama. Not exactly the guy you want with the ball to beat in the box. Good opportunity right there for the U.S. to get the ball back. Panama's doing a really good job. It's like it's Gutierrez. As Panama will play it all the way back to their keeper here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Chat room is open for all you kind folks that want to talk a little football. Here's the throw-in. As that's going to get out, it'll be a Panama throw-in. 35th minute here. It's going to be interesting, man. As they will play this all the way out to the left. Here's Gutierrez. Yunus Musa, nice. But there's a whistle. And it'll be Chris Richards again. And it looks like it'll be a Panama free kick here from right outside the box. Dangerous areas the U.S. have been given Panama. I think this is going to be their fourth set piece. The second one from this spot already. And these are not the type of situations you want to be in here. Panama can make you pay. As we are get set this set piece here. They are waiting for the whistle to blow here. Jesus Christ. Here's the ball in. As that one curls to the far post, way too far over, and it'll get out. As Cascarilla, good intentions right there at the far post, but that was a little too strong here. So U.S. will push the ball up. That's a good ball, but again, far, far, far too strong. As they were looking for Josh breaking up, but that ball sailed. That ball sailed well over his head. Oh, here we go. There's some action down. As they are looking for, good defense by Yunus Musa. Good defense by Yunus. Good play. And that's going to be a whistle right there on Farhan. Yeah, 100%. Good physical battle there for Yunus Musa. As here's Joe Scally. Here's Tyler. Good to see Tyler back. Here's Chris Richards. Yeah, he's going to try to play it to Yunus. It's amazing how quick Panama fly right to the ball. So far, the U.S. really hasn't necessarily had space. Oh, there's a turnover in midfield. As they're going to try to lay this one forward. Oh, good deflection. Good deflection. Good deflection by the U.S. I think that's going to be a throw-in for Panama. And it looks to be a man down on the field. It's Timmy Weah who's getting up. That's the last thing we need right now is an injury. But Timmy's up. 43 caps for Mr. Timmy Weah, 7 goals in his U.S. men's national team career. What gets me excited about this team is the fact that this is the second cycle. And I say this all the time, man. The second cycle is usually where you see the best results. Is there's a nice little throw as they're trying to catch Panama asleep. Oh, buddy, Wes gets his pocket ripped. Panama's going to try to play it forward quick. There's a ball in. Oh, the defense is real with the U.S. men's national team. Ooh, as they're going to try to quickly do the exact same thing as that ball gets out, though. It'll be a U.S. throw-in as they try to make this quick. But it's true. I mean, I say this all the time, right? This is the second cycle. And, when you look at the lineage and the history of the World Cup, you usually get your best results in your second cycle. Not always. The U.S.'s best result in 2002 usually came in a lot of those guys' first cycle. DeMarcus, Landon, what's his bucket? Brian McBride, some of those guys. All those guys were first cycle guys. So, that team had a lot of veteran experience on it. But some of those guys were in their first cycle, and it just happened to be right place, right time. Timing was good for that. But generally speaking, when you think of some of the best results you've seen, generally it came in the second cycle. And these guys now have been there. They know exactly what it means to play in a World Cup. They know exactly what it takes to play in a World Cup. The bright lights are not going to be big. Whereas maybe in 2022, maybe the bright lights were a little big. Maybe they overachieved a little bit getting out of that group. But, in the round of 16 against a team like the Netherlands who, go deep in tournaments all the time, who know how to navigate those type of things, who know how to win. Maybe it was a little much in 2022, but now this is the second cycle. So they've been through that. And I don't give a shit about the Copa America results. It was what it was. I don't think that's going to have an impact moving forward. Now that you have a new coach, you have a new set of expectations. You have a new way of playing, which is vastly different than watching Greg Berhalter try to play like, Barcelona 2012 or, Brazil 1970. In some ways, international soccer has to be a little pragmatic. But that being said, you're seeing a lot of teams playing a lot of front foot football, a lot of high intensity football. And I think that suits the United States because when you look at the makeup of this team, you have a lot of guys who are doing that for the club already. So it suits their style of play. It suits their strengths. It minimizes their liabilities. And I think second cycle, man, this is going to be an exciting tournament. They're going to be on home soil, man, as the U.S. are going to try to press forward. Here's Christian floating in. Nice little layoff. Tried a little back heel right back to Christian, but Panama had that shit sewn up as they play this forward. As Panama is going to try to break on the counter. Nice little ball to the mid right there. But the U.S. will take over. Good defense good defense through the middle. That's the one thing that you're not going to like. Panama is not going to be just going to waltz into the box through the center of the park. They're going to have to earn it. So, same thing on their end as well too. They've been very good defensive centrally. So far, it's been been quiet for Christian. I don't necessarily know if that's been a surprise. I think Eunice, using Eunice a lot to start this match probably was the right go. But I eventually Christian is gonna work his way into this match. He usually does. As they're going to try to play this one over the top. Good defense by Panama. Yeah, I would assume that Christian's going to work his way into this match. So far, Panama's done a very good job marking him. Hasn't had a lot of space to create. Panama's look good. Nice little defense right there by Eunice as that ball's poked back as Chris Richards will go back to retrieve it as the U.S. will set again. Will set up their attack again. Over to Scally off the left side. It seems like they're trying to work down the left right now. The last couple times the U.S. have touched the ball, they've tried to work this down the left side. And I think Panama understands it. So now look at here you go. They're going to switch off to the right. They've had a little bit more success off the right side. It's been pretty equal. As they try to switch right there. That was a bad ball over to Christian. As Panama plays it back. Good press by the U.S. Forces Panama to make an error pass. Here's Yunus Musa. As the U.S. are trying to work it down this left flank again. And it looks like there's a whistle. Yeah. Oh, there it is. That's the end of the first half. So the U.S. men's national team and Panama 0-0 at the half. I thought the U.S. had played well, especially early in that first half. A lot of action down that right flank with Yunus Musa. The U.S. have had their opportunities far more than Panama, although I do believe Panama has been more of the set piece merchant. The U.S. had 3 opportunities to put one in the back of the net. Josh Sargent had a sitter that got deflected, had a goal taken away because of offsides, and Weston McKinney had a nice, basically open header look at the goalie, except that ball went, straight into the goalie. So we're at 0-0 here in the half. But outside of that, U.S. has been the far more front-footed and attacking team, which is expected with Mauricio Pochettino. That's exactly what you expect a Pochettino team to look like, pushing the pace as much as they possibly can. Yeah, man. And, creating chances. Now, one of the things that they're struggling with doing is that final pass into, that final pass in the final third. They just can't seem to necessarily get that one right. After essentially attacking down that right flank for the majority of the first half, they tried to press it with Christian, but I think that's going to have to come organically. One of the things that Panama has done a very good job is man marking Christian. I wouldn't necessarily take him out of the match, but they're keeping an eye on him, right? So whenever there's a switch to the left side, generally there's somebody right there. Without a lot of space for Christian to move, it's usually a pass back to Scally or he gets ripped. It is what it is, man. I would think that you might see as we get into the second half, we might see Christian move a little bit more centrally. Makes a lot of sense. So we'll see, man. We'll see how it plays. As we are getting set here for the second half. Yeah, the U.S., very good, strong first half as we are. Yeah. This coming in on Twitter here from Jason M. Halftime for the U.S. versus Panama in the CONCACAF Nations League, and it's 0-0 all. Sargent had 2 goals. almost had 2 goals, one off the post, one was offsides. Attack decent, but flow's a little rough. I would 100% agree with that. Panama are a good half, must make halftime adjustments. This is coming from a very good friend of the show, USMNT Stan out of Turner. Crazy performance out of sort of aligning just low energy, lazy, no show, effort and IQ in the midfield, painfully bad. Ooh. We either miss line breaking passes, seconds too late, or guys aren't moving intelligent to create passing lanes. Not sure which is more prevalent. Ouch. I would agree. And another guy says Pulisic is playing like a ghost. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Not exactly the greatest midfield performance. I would agree with that. I would 100% agree with that. The question is that going to be doink? Yeah, that did the post. The question is Pochettino going to make any halftime adjustments? Man, will we see maybe a little bit more of a creative engine in a guy like Diego Luna or Gio Reyna? Possibly moving West back to a more of a deep line playmaker type 8 role, where maybe you can use his passing ability to break lines. Not exactly the worst idea. With that being said, I would have to agree. Outside of dominating that right flank and maybe a little bit on the left, it really is. The intensity is there. Yeah, maybe it's an IQ issue, but that being said, I mean, a lot can be done at the halftime to change that. To change that tune. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's played. The chat room is open, by the way, for all those that want to pop by and talk a little football. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button as well too. The algorithm. You always have to be careful of the algorithm. And by the way, I don't know why I'm trying to do a Robert De Niro. I don't know why. I don't look like Robert. Don't talk like Robert. But I can say a fugazi. It's a fugazi. A fugazi, a whizzle wazzle. By the way, I like that, and again, I like the fact that we're seeing our full first team, be it a few names out, injury, whatever. But moving forward, this team has to play a bulk of the performances moving forward. Maybe we're not going to see some guys in the summer, depending on Club World Cup. That's going to be this summer as well too. And also, if some guys are moving, I would probably assume these guys probably want to be in preseason camps with their new team as well too. So, this might be the only opportunity for a dude like Gio Reyna to show what he's about with Mauricio Pochettino. I was just thinking about that a couple days ago. It's like, will he be available in Gold Cup? I doubt it. Last time I checked, I think Dortmund's going to be a part of the Club World Cup. For those that have that up, you can drop that in the chat room as well too. But that being said, if he decides to leave Dortmund, whichever team he goes to, I would probably assume that he probably wants to be a part of the preseason camp to get himself adjusted. So, I'm curious to see what Gio looks like, man. I did think Josh had a pretty good first half, albeit he had a couple nice shots. One actually deflected and hit off the post, and the goal that actually went in was disallowed because of offside. But you would like to see a little bit more chance creation, but I didn't think that their play through the center of the park was really all that inspiring. Again, we'll see how that plays out. I wouldn't mind seeing a halftime adjustment and seeing Gio come on for the full 45. A part of me was wondering whether Poch was going to trust him with a full 90, considering that he hasn't played a full 90 in quite a while. I think his last couple performances for Dortmund have been off the bench. I know that he got a start, like I want to say, three-ish weeks ago, maybe 3-ish weeks ago. I don't know. I have to look that up. Let's go ahead and look that up. Let's go ahead and look up Gio Reyna. Let's look it up. You guys shouldn't have to busy yourself doing my research. Let's look at it. Yeah, so he played against Lille in the Champions League, and it looked like he came on for the last 5. Before that, again, Champions League. And it was March 1st against St. Pauli that he played 74 minutes. Hasn't had a goal contribution since January 29th against Shakhtar Donetsk. He had an assist in that one. Hasn't actually scored a goal since the 14th against Holstein Kiel. Yikes. Gio, buddy. What's going on with you, bud? Yeah, it's funny when U.S. supporters, get up on that, new coach thing. It's like, well, it's a new opportunity. Yeah. But that being said, if his last 3 coaches didn't rate him, what makes you think this, this new one for Dortmund is going to rate him? And sure enough, it's pretty much come full circle. So yeah, I would probably assume Gio's got to make a move in this offseason, 100%. The question is where, and what is a good fit for Gio Reyna? We'll see. Don't know. That being said, I would probably assume that he's going to get some love in the Eredivisie. He might find some love in the Bundesliga, maybe in France or in Italy. But one of the things that's you got to be playing. This is a very huge year for Gio Reyna, not just in terms of club, but also for country as well too. So, but that being said, though, right? They always say that you got to be playing and you got to be playing well. Yet, we still see Matt Turner. And, I don't know. I just feel like, we probably might still see Gio regardless. That's my take on it, at least. I think Gio is one of those guys where you're going to bring him in regardless. I don't know, though. We'll see. As we are waiting for the start of the second half here. I do want to thank everybody who has tuned in thus far. It's always good. It's always good to have you along. Obviously, this channel, moving forward is obviously we're going to have a lot more live streams when it comes to Major League Soccer. I do want to talk a little about the pro-rel conversation in the USL. So we'll try to get a guest on that is going to be able to break that down. I do think that's absolutely huge news as far as pro-rel proponents. How it's going to have impact on Major League Soccer, I don't think it's going to have initial impact on Major League Soccer. But that being said, if this proves to work, Major League Soccer is going to have to take notice of it, right? Whether a lot of people assume that it's going to be like some sort of merger or buyout. I just don't think the USL is interested in anything in that nature. But that being said, if it works, man, I believe pro-rel can definitely work in this country if it's done right. So we're going to see, man. All eyes are going to be on the USL for that. So we're going to get into that as well too moving forward, because I definitely want to get some guys on the show that can understand the framework of what USL is trying to do. I've said it from the beginning, right? Competition is good for everybody. And one of the things that people, a lot of fans in this country really dislike is the fact, of a closed system, because they romanticize pro-rel because of how it's done in England and some of those type of things. But it can definitely work. The question is going to be, is the revenue going to be able to sustain that USL model, right? Because, what is going to be the solidarity payments on the top flight of USL, and then what are the balloon payments going down? as far as potential revenues to keep those teams afloat as they move down to that second division. It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting view. So far, they're doing pretty well as far as their TV deal goes. So that I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out. So we'll get some guys on to talk about that. But we're getting started here in the second half here in LA at SoFi Stadium. The U.S. men's national team, Panama, are deadlocked at 0. I'm curious to see what Mauricio Pochettino is going to do here for the second half, because certainly he was not necessarily thrilled with his team's play in the middle of the park. Granted, on the wings, they looked pretty dangerous. Definitely had some goal opportunities, but that being said, how is this going to shake itself out? Because, you would imagine that from a physicality standpoint, from an energy standpoint, Panama's in a better position than the U.S. But talent-wise, we know where that lies. Man, I really want to see some changes at the half, man. I really do. I kind of want to see Gio. I kind of really do. I think that might be something that would be worth entertaining. And as the players are coming out, as we are about to start this second half, make sure you hit your like and subscribe buttons. Obviously, the chat room is open for all you Panamanian fans out there. It's always good, man. It's always good. As we are just, we're so very close to the start of the second half. Yeah, man. I also wonder if the crowd plays affecting this win, because there's not a lot of people here for this one, man. I get it, man. It's in LA. I actually think they picked the wrong city for this one. LA, 4:00. Yeah, man. You had to have gotten to the stadium early for this one. 100%. As the U.S. takes the field, as we are getting started for the second half. Yeah, like have you ever tried getting anywhere in LA at 4:00 in the afternoon? Good luck. Now, for me, being on the East Coast, I love the fact that it started at 7:00. But for those that are trying to get to the game, this is probably the worst starting time in the history of starting times. But and it looks like we're about ready to kick things off here, as the U.S. is trying to solve the riddle of Panama's defense. I do think Christian is going to come alive in the second half, and we are underway now. As Panama will start the second half in possession. I think the strongest point so far for the U.S. has been their defense. They've been very good, cutting off passing lanes, not giving Panama an inch. Yeah, their press has been good. That's a turnover high. Here's Yunus Musa attacking down the right. Cuts in. Tried to play it forward, and there's nothing there. But the U.S. will regain possession. Ooh. And there it is. Yeah, I give the U.S. credit defensively. They played well. There's no doubt about it. There's just something that is just not working for the U.S. attack. A lot of that has to do with Panama. I'll give credit where credit's due, but for as front-footed as the U.S. has been, they just can't seem to find that final pass when they absolutely need it. As they will try to switch the corner. Here's Joe Scally playing it back to Timmy Ream, who plays it over to Yunus Musa. They'll try this one again. They'll set up. That's a nice little ball over. Here's Weah. Deep. Ooh, I think that's going to get out for a corner. It will, buddies. It will. And so the U.S. will have a set piece early in the second half. 47th minute. They're going to play this one short. Here's Pulisic. Header. There's just nobody home. Oy. Ooh. Oh, here's Timmy Weah. Oh, come on. Timmy, you chest it, and you get it on your foot, and you take a shot. The U.S. will intercept it high. Good press. They're trying to find a way in. Play one in. Here's Yunus Musa pushing the end line. Oh, good defense by Panama. They had West running to the far post right there. It's Harvey. Good defense right there by Panama. This is Yunus Musa pushing the end line. Got across on. Just not in a location that was going to be beneficial for the U.S. So this will be Christian Pulisic again. Plays it in. Deflected wide. Here's Tim Ream. Here's Timmy Weah. Good little give and go, but that was just terrible. God damn it. And that'll get out again for another corner. Can the U.S. capitalize? I don't know, man. I don't know. Here's Pooley again. Like to see a nice little headed banger here. This Blackman's trying to box out West. Here's the corner. Ball in. Oh, and right there. Good goalkeeping right there. And that quickly shuts it down. This Panama's trying to play it quick, trying to get upfield on the attack. Try to play it through, but the U.S. right there cutting away a passing lane. Here comes the U.S. And is there a whistle? Yeah, there's a whistle. And I think this might be a free kick, maybe? I would think so. Nice little give and go right there between Weah and Musa. Excuse me, Weah and McKinney. No, that's actually going to get out for a goal kick. God, this is, I don't know, man. This has kind of been dreadful. Tyler Adams, just a beast. Beast. Tyler Adams is such a good defender. That dude has an engine on him. It's unreal. That dude sprinted 60 yards to make a play. What a stud. Panama's going to keep it deep. They're going to try to play one in. Oh, nice move. Oh, defense. The U.S. has supremely been so very good defending. Good Lord, they're so good. Panama had a nice little end around on the right side, but the U.S. shut that shit down. As the U.S. now just turned it over in possession again. Can you literally string together two passes through the middle of the park? That's what I'm asking, and I don't think I'm asking a lot. As that ball gets out, so it'll be a U.S. throw-in. This is just absolutely unnerving. I mean, they've essentially been forced to the flanks, and Panama did a good job to shut that down as well too. 1v1 has not been the U.S.'s strong suit today. Something has got to give. Play that ball forward. There you go. Here's Yunus Musa. And he gets to take it. Here comes Panama. Oh, that they try to drop it off. There's Tyler Adams. God, you stud. He's a stud. Now they're gonna play this all the way wide. Timmy Weah, shot on goal. Ran at the goalie. But at least it's a shot on goal. Something we haven't really had so far yet, as we're in the 52nd minute now. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, and also the chat room is available if you want to talk. I'd love to hear from you. Panama will try to play this forward quickly, but there's the U.S. press. They have done a good job to close down space on Panama. And as I said, there's a runner going free. Nice through ball. Good defense right there by Tim Ream. You know, for a dude that's playing out of position with Charlotte, who's playing left back, he is. Tim Ream's playing left back for Charlotte. He steps right back into center back, and he's actually played pretty well tonight. Yeah. You gotta like Timmy Ream. I think he's got 67 caps, something like that. He's had a pretty good U.S. career. I'll give him that. I would have preferred Mark McKenzie tonight, but hey. I'm really waiting to see Austin Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers play together. That would be nice. Here's Yunus Musa. They're going to play this out right. He's going to lay it off. All over the top. That's just a little too hard, but West keeps it in bound. It's Christian. Put a ball into the box. God damn it. I don't mind high possession. I really don't. You know, if you can keep position for 60% of the time, fantastic. But you also have to chance create. You have to create chances. And it's just something that they're just not doing right now. It's just unbelievable. It almost feels like it's every time that the U.S. is on the attack, Panama just hunkers down into the box. They're just giving them absolutely no room to operate down in their own end. Here's Timmy Ream. Timmy. There's Tyler, who's going to play it again out to Yunus Musa. As Yunus try to play it over to the left, here's Timmy Weah. Here's Scally. In the box, good D. Good pass, though, by Scally. But the U.S. will keep possession. And Pulisic tried to put one on. And I think it's going to go out for a corner. Good deflection as Pulisic is trying to rile up this crowd of maybe 10,000. That was a nice little pass by Joe Scally. But Christian tried to put one on. It gets deflected. So now it'll be another U.S. corner. And Pulisic will stand over this one. There's the ball in. That'll get deflected away. Comes the U.S. pressing in. Good defense by Panama. And the U.S. take the ball right back. And there will be a whistle. Yeah. Oh, and Josh Sargent. Ugh. So Panama will have possession here so we're going to get ready for this whistle here. Good Lord, man. How do you this is I hate to say it, man. This is Tottenham football, man. High possession, no shots on goal. as they're going to try to, Panama's trying to play one in, but U.S. strips the ball as they're going to try to play this forward. Good pressing. So they're going to play this one out. Here's Christian Pulisic off the right side as he tries to put one in, but that goes way. This has not been a good performance for Christian tonight. As Tanner Tessman was sitting at the far post there. It's unreal, man. As the American Outlaws try to get everybody into this one. And it does look like we do have some guys warming up on the sideline for the U.S. Absolutely, because we're coming into an out now, and it makes a tremendous amount of sense that we see some substitutions. Personally, I kind of would have liked to see them at the half, but I understand why Poch kept his lineup intact as the U.S. are in possession. As they are trying to make something happen. There's Timmy Weah. Ooh, he gets around the corner. Here's Weah. Deflected. Oh. But finally, Weah gets around the corner. Finally. Good Lord, man. That was a nice move, too. He gets around the corner, tries to put one in, but right there was Harvey. There's the ball in. Far post. Too far. As Josh Sargent was the intended target right there. You know, they did a good job of trying to work Sargent the ball in the first half. And so far, Josh has not been as active as I'd like to see. You know, but that being said, man, Josh needs service. He has not been able to get it. Panama will try to play this as they boot this long. Ooh, that's over the top. Good defense by Tim Ream. Oh, good deflection right there as that ball gets out. Good defense again by the U.S. men's national team. Very, very, very pleased with Tim Ream tonight. He is playing tough tonight. As Panama is going to throw this one in. As they are deep in the U.S. zone. That ball goes into the box. Panama will keep possession. I think it gets out again. Just looking for that one goal. And the U.S. has certainly had possession tonight. They certainly have held the ball for long periods of time, but unfortunately, not a lot of chance creation as they're going to try to play this one in. This gets deflected. Good header back out, so the U.S. will retain possession. Here's Tim Weah, who's going to have to lay it back off. Ooh. Here's Tyler Adams, who's going to go right. Here's Yunus Musa. Oh, nice play by Yunus. He gets around the corner. And he goes down. Is there a whistle? He thinks there should be. And there is no whistle. Oh. Good move by Yunus Musa as he beats his first man. And it looked like, yeah, that was Cardova right there. Good play. And it will be a goal kick. Panama. So we are in the 61st minute. Panama really hasn't really been on the attack thus far. It's been all U.S. possession. It's been far more Panama defense, but there it is right there. It is right there. They just cannot get around the corner. They have essentially shut down the wings now. They got to try something else. as Harvey will throw this in for Panama. Good deflection by the U.S. But Panama's on the attack. Can the U.S. find that one elusive goal? Good press, as that ball's been rushed. And it'll get over the top right into the hands of Matt Turner. Here's Tim Ream, who will play it out. U.S. is going to try to push this one up. Here's Chris Richards. Back to Timmy Weah. Plays it out to Joe Skelly. Joe Skelly. Oh, good press right there by Panama. Oh, Tim Ream. Great play by Ream. Oh. And Pulisic is going to get the whistle right there. You got Christian Pulisic versus CONCACAF. All right. Calm down. I know. That was pretty funny. The U.S. has tried to press here. Good ball through. Panama's trying to lay it off. That was just a bad pass right there. And that gets out. U.S. throwing. They're gonna try to break. Nobody is there as that ball gets out. It'll be another U.S. throw-in. Good thought right there to try to quickly play it forward to Josh. But Panama had that shit shut down. Here's Joe Scally. Tana Tessman. Z will hold on to the possession. Here's Chris Richards. They're playing that little 1-2 in the midfield. Here's Yunus Musa back to Chris Richards. And really, this passing is just side to side. As Ream tried to play one forward to Josh, but that was way too high, right into the hands of the keeper. Figure it out. Like Panama gives you space to create. Get back to what you guys do best. Push the tempo. Try to find a way centrally. Good God. I'm not asking a lot here. That ball, that might just be offside. There's a shot on goal way over the crossbar right there. But that was their first real chance. And, of course, it was offside. Yeah, he was way offside. As Chris Richards had to track back there. But yeah, offside. Ugh. Can we get a goal? Can we? Please? Pretty please? I'll be your best friend. As they're going to try to play this one centrally, but no dice. As the U.S. literally cannot find a way in. And we're in the 65th minute? And coming onto the field here, it looks like it's going to be Jack McGlynn. So the U.S. will make their first change, and it will be Jack McGlynn. Interesting sub. But it makes sense. Depends on how McGlynn is going to be used. If he's used as a deep lying playmaker, yeah, McGlynn's all right. But if he's being used as a 6, he's a defensive liability. Is he going to lay this one off? Here's Wes. Deep on the touchline. As he almost got that ball ripped. Here's Timmy Weah. God, he's been an albatross. Here's Scally. What are you doing? Oh. They just can't find anything right now as they're trying. There's Yunus Musa, ball in. Ooh, that looked good. That looked good. Yunus Musa put one on. And we will have 2 subs here. And coming off the field now in the 67th minute is Josh Sargent, and it will be Patrick Aubameyang coming on. Not a bad performance today for Josh. First half especially, I thought Josh was fine. I thought he did his job handedly, but not a lot of service in the second half. And coming in for Tanner Tessman is Jack McGlynn. So Tyler Adams will stay on the field, and McGlynn will check in. Patrick Aubameyang for Josh Sargent. Not a bad, listen, man, I'm not going to hate on Josh. I thought he had a very good first half. I thought he was dangerous. But for whatever reason, they just couldn't, in the second half, they couldn't figure out the riddle of Panama. And he was pretty much useless in the second half. So we got some fresh legs on with Aubameyang. We got something different in the midfield. As that ball gets deflected back and out, it'll be a U.S. throw-in. Good Lord, man. Just make a play. Make a freaking play. Did I just say freaking? Yeah, fucking. Fucking, not freaking. This isn't a PG channel. As the U.S. are trying to cycle this thing around, trying to get Panama moving side to side, but that ain't happening. Here's Tyler Adams. And that ball gets out, so it'll be a U.S. throw. And by the way, Christian Pulisic has not played well today, man. Let's just call a spade a spade. He has not looked good at all. And I don't know if this is jet lag, and we'll see the real Christian if the U.S. advance. But something's got to give. And it looks like Waterman's checking in for Panama, and it looks like Martinez is coming off. No, Martinez is staying in. But Farjan is coming off. So Panama is going to make a change with their striker as well, too. We'll see if the Jack McGlynn switch for Tessman pays off for the U.S. I do like Jack McGlynn. This is a big Jack McGlynn channel. McGlynn can ball. At the MLS level, McGlynn can ball. And, in the January camp and maybe the U23s, he can ball. But have we seen enough of him at the first team conclusively to say that he belongs? That I don't know. That's something we will find out. Speaking of McGlynn, as the U.S. try to figure out a way in, can they unlock Panama's defense? Can they press in? It's a nice little dump off. Played through. Ooh. Played through. That was nice. And there's a whistle here as we try to figure out how this is going to play out. Oh, and that's going to be a goal kick. Oh. I don't necessarily know how I feel about Aubameyang's inclusion on this one. The U.S. had some nice options there. Now, here's the thing. I'm not speaking of Cade Cowell or Brandon Vasquez or Brian White, but Cole Campbell, Damian Downs, somebody, somebody that makes a little bit more, somebody that makes it just a little bit more sense for the U.S. Somebody that can provide something a little different. Um, that would, work with Josh Sargent, not necessarily against him. I thought Ajin Yang was fine in Camp Cupcake, man. I thought he was fine against that level against Venezuela. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, fine, but I don't know, man. I don't know if this is his level. And I guess the good part about him being here is we're gonna find out, man. We're gonna find out. But so far, they have, the U.S. men's national team have not looked good in the midfield tonight. Um, Panama has done a great job, man. I tip my cap to him. Now, was that Panama's defensive dominance, or was it the U.S.'s just inability to string together two passes? I'm probably going to say the latter. They're making it hard on themselves. I think in the area of their press, they've been pretty good. Their ability to stay on the front foot, that's good. It's just, it feels uninspiring. That's all I'm saying. Here's Panama. Good defense, 1v1 defense for Chris Richards. I think it gets out for I think it's going to be a goal kick. Ooh, looked like it might have been a corner. The U.S. will try again. I catch myself romanticizing the U.S. men's national team. Obviously, I want them to win, 100%. But when you see them play, and you see them play with a lack of creativity, how is this team going to play in the World Cup? If they're struggling to string together two passes against Panama, how is this team going to perform against England? I still believe that we will win. That is true. I do believe come World Cup team, this team is going to be firing on all cylinders. But that being said, man, I get nervous, man. These performances, that's a nice little. Oh, what was that? What the fuck was that? Good Lord, man. Good Lord. They had a nice little combo pass right there off the top of the box. Played one through, and that ball went to absolutely nobody. This has not been a good performance. As we are now in the 75th minute, the U.S. has made two substitutions as Patrick Ajimyang and Jack McGlynn have checked in. I would like to see Gio come in for Wes. Wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind to see what was that? Ugh. Eunice, buddy. Eunice just flat out missed that. He was trying to clear it, missed. And now, we're looking at it. I think a Panama corner. Ugh. Ugh. Buddy. Yes, there is a man down for the U.S. as they are looking at this. As I believe they're going to use this as the unofficial water break. As two go up. Oh, I don't know, man. Chris Richards is acting like he got shouldered in the face. I don't know. I don't know. I think this is just. You know what I think this is? I'll tell you exactly what I think this is. Much ado about nothing. as we are getting set for the restart here, as Richards is fine. Yeah, he's fine. Yeah. He's back up. He's going to take a little swig. As we are waiting for the restart here, as Chris Richards rebates down, but he's all right. He didn't get hit in the face. As the two go up, he acts like he got hit in the face, but there was no shoulder to face contact. Chris Richards is fine. I would assume that Chris might be somewhat tired. that's probably would be my guess. Dude's played a lot of football. As it looks like Panama is about to make another substitution here. Put Gio in the game, Poch. Let him fly like a peacock. I gotta fly. I gotta fly like a peacock. Peacocks don't fly, bud. As there will be a substitution now. As this thing is still done, we're in the 78th minute and nobody scored. God damn it. The U.S. has definitely been the aggressor. They have been on the front foot, but they are just lacking some sort of creativity through the midfield. And it looks like there will be another sub here. It ain't going to be Gio. It looks like Mark McKenzie's going to come in for Chris Richards. So they're going to make a swap at the back. All right. As Chris Richards will come out as a precaution. He's fine. And coming in for Panama is going to be Anderson, and Blackman's coming off. All right, so with about 10 minutes left in this one, Panama's probably going to have the corner. Yeah, they're going to have the corner. And there's that ball in. Ooh. A little sketchy. As they got a head onto it. As the U.S. will try to bring this up on the attack. Here's Timmy Ream out to McKenzie. Let's see if the U.S. can do something as they try to play it down this left side. As Timmy Weah doesn't look like it. Unbelievable. It looks like it's going to be a U.S. corner, though, so something. Can I get a corner? Can I get a goal off this corner? I don't know. And Christian set up as Mark McKenzie's now into this game. Pretty decent in the air. Tim Ream is absolutely garbage in the air. I would just like to see a goal. That's it. I would like to see one. That ball's in. Ooh, as it falls right back. Here's Christian. Ooh. And here comes Panama trying to push. Nice little ball into the mid. Oh, that ball's turned over. Here comes the U.S. Plays it for Dajim Yang. In the box. Oh! U.S. will retain possession. He had 1v1 versus the goalie and couldn't beat the goalie. There's that ball in. That gets deflected. Here's a long shot. Deflected. Oh, Ajim Yang had a good look at net. That was a good ball through. And he beat him. And he just could not finish. Uh, 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 that was their first very good look at the second half. Matt Turner will come out. And we have a man down on the field for Panama. That dude looked like he got laid out. He's fine. I generally just look at this as a soccer flop. Nothing more, nothing less. This is just if we can push this into a position where we can get into extra time, possibly penalties. And Ajim Yang, man, god damn it. 1v1, can't put it in. That was some good hustle. Like, you got to finish that, bud. You know, you're not going to have too many opportunities like that in this one. Yes, Martinez is down, but he's up. He's up. He's fine. Rub a little dirt on it and get back out there. Like the U.S. finally gets their first decent look at net, and they can't cash in. Ugh. Ugh. As we are getting close to the wire here, 83rd minute. U.S. are still hunting for that goal. It's Tim Ream. Plays it out wide left. Here's Mac McKenzie. As Panama's doing a pretty solid job of pressing here. And it's one down the left side. That's a ball in. Nobody's there. Can the U.S. do this? Can they finish it off? Maybe. As the U.S. is trying to press, they did a pretty good job. As that ball's turned over into the midfield. Here's Tyler Adams. Just get it done. Here's Timmy Weah. A little overlapping run. Here's Joe Scally. Ball in. Ooh, that was actually nice right there. So U.S. will retain possession here. They're trying to play it in. Nice little play off. So they got to lay it back. Here's Timbo. Here's Christian. Has not been a solid game for Christian at all. Yeah, this probably would have been better had Christian been on the left. Scally tried to put one in. That gets shut down. Nice play by Timmy Ream. Oh, such an uninspiring performance. It's like this battle of attrition. Who is going to be the first to mistakenly put it in the back of the net? They're going to try to play this forward. Oh, that's nice. Oh, Ajim Yang again had an opportunity as Christian played it right to Ajim Yang. As Christian was onside, played it into the box, and Ajim Yang just could not finish. That's the second opportunity that he's had to score in the second half. And Ajim Yang just puts it over the bar. Ajim Yang, whatever. Ajim doesn't. Ugh. So it'll be a goal kick for Panama. 88th minute now. I wonder if this just goes straight to pens. I wonder if they don't. I wonder if they just forego the OT. That's something to. Let's find out. Let's find out. All right. Okay, so it looks like maybe 2 15-minute halves and then a shootout. That's what it's looking like. Oh, I don't want to download anything. Good Lord, just tell me. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So I think that as Pulisic gets a yellow here. Yeah, that's kind of yellowy. I think how this goes is that there is going to be 2 15-minute halves plus the shootout. I'm almost positive there'll be some extra time before we get to a shootout. As we are now in the 90th minute, still 0-0, 0-0. Sorry. As we start this extra period, as Panama will make a couple more changes, as Morales will check in. This has not been an entertaining game. I got this with you, the U.S. As Martinez will check out now, as Morales will check in for Panama. You know, would I be surprised if the U.S. lost this match? No, not really. They have not done well enough to win it. But that being said, would I be surprised if the U.S. snuck a goal in? No, not really. But that being said, yeah, like, you know, if Panama gets lucky and gets one in, that would not surprise me. That being said, the U.S.'s defense has been actually superb. What actually been their best aspect of this was that ball shot down the left side. Here's Timmy Weah. I didn't like that ball's turned over. What is going on? They just literally cannot string together 2 goddamn passes. That's a ball in. Deflected. Where is the creativity? Where is the creativity here? There is, as you're Scally trying to figure something out. That ball gets deflected and it'll go out for a corner. They just cannot finish. Cannot figure it out. Can I get a stoppage time goal? Can we get it? Here's Christian. As they got to play this back to reset. Shot! Ooh. Good save. Good save. That's a good shot on goal. As it was your boy, Christian. That ball gets deflected. You just had to play it back. That was the ballistic special right there, cutting in on his foot. Here's Panama. Oh, here's the shot, and there it is. Panama gets one in the 4th minute. And Panama is going to win this match. Yeah. They did not do enough to win this. The United States had chances after chances, and it had a feeling it was going to play this way. They had an opportunity right there, a good pass out to the right. And now for the second time in the major tournament, Panama looks like they will advance against the U.S. on home soil. As Panama just scored. As the U.S. were trying to get the ball back. They slept on home dude who slips it right past. Slips it right past Matt Turner, who probably should have had that save. There it is. Oh, yeah. That dude gets up onto the booth and hugs Thierry Henry. That's Waterman. And there will be a yellow card for Waterman, but that's probably going to be it. As the U.S. will try to do something. And they've just done this all game. Just tried to find Timmy Weah. There's the ball in. And I think that's going to do it. As the U.S. will be eliminated from the Nations League. But the reality was they weren't good enough to win. As we are in the 6th minute of stoppage time, a minute 30 pass, so they're letting them play. They got to dial up something here. As that ball drops. It was Yunus Musa, Christian Pulisic. Oh, and Tyler Adams as he sails it high, and I think that's going to be it. But yeah, I'm not surprised. You had a feeling that this was probably going to play out this way as Panama finds a stoppage time goal. And I think that's going to be it for the U.S. And this is the second time in a major tournament that Panama has beaten. Well, it's not over yet, but that Panama will have beaten the U.S. on home soil. And kudos to Panama, man. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, man. They made it ugly. But the U.S. didn't, the U.S. didn't do themselves any favors either. As this match progressed, they literally could not find any type of continuity within the midfield. And there it is. There it is. Panama advances to the final on Sunday. And the U.S. is out. Now, here's the thing, right? Like I thought the midfield three of Adams, Tessman, and McKinney was fine. I didn't like that Pulisic was on the right side. That should have been Timmy Weah, and Pulisic should have been on the left. But it is what it is, man. The U.S. had chances in the first half. They absolutely did. Josh Sargent gets a ball deflected off a defender that goes off the post. He has one goal taken away because of offside. Weston McKennie, McKennie had a header, but this was a game that kind of that lacked a lot of ambition and creativity in the midfield. They were essentially forced to attack down the wings, and once Panama adjusted, man, that was it. That was it. They knew that they weren't going to be a force through the middle of the park, and they did a very good job on Christian, and they did a very good job on Timmy Weah. That's it. So Panama will play for a trophy. Congratulations to Panama, man. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. But what do you I'm almost happy in a sense. But that being said, it's also disappointing as well, too, man. The U.S. had the opportunity. And because they failed to take a hold of that that opportunity, Panama was able to bide their time, and sure as shit in stoppage time, the U.S. leaks a soft goal, a goal that probably Matt probably should have had. It's sad but true. So that's the thing. It's like what's next now that the U.S. is out of the Nations League, playing for third place, the last major opportunity to win a trophy is the Gold Cup. And I would think that we probably will be playing for a Gold Cup final. But that being said, man, the last two major tournaments played on home soil, the U.S. has bowed out. I don't want to say that it's indictment on Poch. I don't. I just can't. I think a lot of this has to do with the players, but that being said, it's it's just tough, man. It's tough. Well, that's going to do it for me. It's been fun. We will be back towards the end of this week as we do another American soccer live stream. So definitely tune in for that. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Have a good night.